Hello, and welcome to another episode of Raise the Vibe with Liz. I'm your host, Liz Peterson, and today I am going to be interviewing the author of High Sobriety, A Trip Out of the Bottle and Into Your Intuition by Rae Leonard. Rae Leonard is an author and a frequency-guided intuitive. Her areas of expertise that she draws on include yoga, vortex healing, conscious language, and master cleansing. Inside her book, she shares her resources and techniques to clear the past, flaming smoldering superpowers, and unearth a carefully calibrated inner compass. Rae, welcome to the show. I'm happy to have you.
Thank you, Liz. It's so wonderful to be here with you today.
I'm excited. I kind of want to jump in. I read your book last night and I love all of the information that you're bringing out through your journey and what's helped you be a success in your life. So let's jump back. I always ask all of my guests, what was your journey up until this moment right now?
Whoo! What a question. Well, I think that I started out, I always knew that I was an intuitive. I was always very stubborn. I was never following the pack. I was always very suspicious of um, what everyone else was doing and what they were into. And I just kind of wanted to do my own thing so that I could hear my guides and my speaking to me and use my own intuition. Yet there were many times that I got lost in our society. You know, when I became a teenager and I kind of dumbed down my clairsenses or my ESP, my extra sensory perceptions, which are not extra, everyone has them. It's just a matter of developing them or not. And in this culture, we're certainly not encouraged to develop them. So they did become, I kind of went underground with them. And at the same time, as a young teenager, I was exposed to drugs and alcohol, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to use these, to amplify my gifts." And I worked that for many, many years. I was a yoga teacher and always been a health nut. And I always thought, oh, I have control over drugs and alcohol. I got this. I can do lots of healthy things and then I can run wild and let go on the weekends and drink and do recreational drugs. I was never into pharmaceuticals. I only into the cool stuff, drugs and alcohol. Until my mid 40s, when all of a sudden the addictive part of alcohol, which is mass marketed, mass produced, and socially acceptable in our society, caught up with me, and I found myself addicted to alcohol. Luckily for me, I had a lot of tools in my toolkit already that I could pull out, and I could see that the alcohol, the spirits, the negative entities that had their grip in me were something different than my true self, my divine, infinite, angelic humanity. I could differentiate, and I kind of snuck up on them, and I knew I was going to defeat them. I knew they weren't going to defeat me, and I licked it. I quit cold turkey. And I thought, well, if I can do this, then I can at least show people my path. I'd like to share this with other people because I didn't take the traditional, I didn't go to AA and I didn't find myself in recovery. I was just, woof, I am recovered. And I wanted to offer the things that I did to accomplish that to other people. And that's why I wrote the book. And that's led me to where I am today.
That's great, Rae. I think that a lot of time our childhood can play a role in these things that we choose to, adapt into our lives, or to use as coping mechanisms, or, to sort of distract ourselves, or to disassociate from, what's going on in our lives, or, what's the attachment disorder? Not disorder, but the attachment style that avoidant, to avoid life. So how do you think your childhood, because you talk about your childhood in the book, played a role in, this time between, like 4 and 40?
Wow, there were a lot of things right there that I could like pick up on. What I like to do is dimension skip. So, this 3D reality, what we can see and hear and taste and feel, and we all agree upon, is a very, very limited place. And that's what we're taught to stay in. That's what we're taught is reality. And it's very heavy, it's very dense. There's a lot of pain, there's a lot of effort that it takes just to wake up in the morning, just to get through our day. There's a lot of obstacles. And when you're a sensitive person, it can be really challenging. And we're looking to avoid this 3D. So, what I do, so definitely drugs and alcohol were just an easy way to avoid it, right? Destructive, but easy. So, I definitely was tempted and down that road quite a bit, as well as I knew to develop ways to move into the fifth dimension, or even the fourth dimension, which is more of a transformational state, a gateway state. And the fifth dimension is one of love and light and ease. And so I play a lot of games with myself all day long when something becomes really heavy in the third dimension, such as taking my truck in to get fixed, and it's like, you could really use 4 new tires, and it looks like you're going to need an axle soon, and blah blah blah, boom 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 boom, you just say wow money and wow effort and wow I can't do what I want this weekend because now my car is going to be in the shop and blah. And so I just take myself out of it. I look for clues in numbers. So now we all have phones. So I look for 1111, 1212, 222. And I take that as a way to move into the spirit world with my spirit guides. And Calgon, take me away. And they take me to a place. I can do it instantly, but I teach my clients how to start doing it so that they can do it faster and faster. So that, so let me put it this way, Liz. I'm really into avoidance. I'm avoiding this reality as much as possible because there are lots of softer, lighter, more beautiful, playful places to be. And the more that I toggle back and forth in those places, the happier I am, the more joyous day I have, the more connected moments I have with people that I love. It's just a way to release this 3D. So you could call it avoidance, but I think it's kind of positive.
It can be positive and uplifting to sort of separate us from this three-dimensional reality that we find ourselves in, and skip into like the fourth dimension and fifth dimension. And I've been seeing recently, like not only in myself, but in my clients, where we're kind of beyond that too, where we're going into a state of acceptance and unity, which is more eighth or 11th dimension. So I think we have access to these things if we choose to have access to these dimensions, right? So let's sit in the 3D reality a little bit, because you do talk about in your book about drinking culture, and you mentioned that in the beginning of the interview. And I want to talk about that because we do live in a society that has a really high drinking culture. You see it in everything. You discussed it in your book, how, you were in, you were an actress and, in different plays and things, way back when. And, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, a little bit later in life too. And you sat down and you looked at the TV, or you were watching the movie, and you counted, I think it was 250 times that it showed up in the movie. And it really does play a role. Like when we go out, we're drinking. If we meet friends, we're drinking wine. If we're doing this, and I myself have never been a big drinker, it doesn't appeal, it doesn't even work for my system at all. I've always been a highly sensitive person. I've always, been sensitive to dyes and alcohol and pharmaceutical drugs and that sort of thing. My body just can't take it. So even though I dabbled in my late teens and early 20s and have a drink occasionally, my body always tells me by being tired the next day that it really doesn't enjoy it. So talk about like this drinking culture and how that affected your life, and you talk about like what you see in society. So talk a little bit about that to bring awareness to that.
Well, I think it's really interesting to explore the history of alcohol in our society. It's very connected to the slave trade and very negative things. First, when animals were just eating fermented berries that had dropped off of trees, and feeling kind of a little high or a little good, and then people figured out how to ferment whatever grain or fruit was in their culture, um, to get a little bit of a more buzz from beer and wine. Yet, when distilling came in, that's when the big problems started. So at first, distilled alcohol was just used as a medicine, and in very extreme cases. And then it started being more mass produced with imperialism and being able to take alcohol on boats so that the water would be more purified, so that the sailors would have something to drink. And then that was shared with indigenous people and traded for slaves, and created alcohol issues in these places that were just very, very pure places. The Caribbean and Africa, and there was no drinking problems there. Um, Before the imperialists brought it there. So, and brought it here as well to the Americas. So that's my big question. I'm always asking why? Why do the powers that be, why do the elite want us to have so much alcohol? It's poison. It's ethanol. There's nothing positive about it, yet it's everywhere. So I always like to pose that question. Secondly, yeah, would you be drinking alcohol if it wasn't so beautifully designed? And, in my case, looking at Hollywood and all the Hollywood movies, people are drinking, starting with the earliest, the old Hollywood movies, which is what the ones I love. Everyone's got a martini glass, and bars are so magical looking. They're always backlit and different colors, and they're so fascinating and sophisticated. It's equated with these qualities, yet you're poisoning yourself and putting your health in danger. You're putting other people in danger. You're opening yourself up to all these negative functions, negative spirits that love to come in once you've polluted your body, and your true essence has to leave, temporarily. It's kind of like tethered to you. And now I can see that when I go in places where people are drinking, I can see people's uh, true light hanging out somewhere else, and I can see all these negative entities hanging around and coming into people who are drinking. It's super creepy. So why is it glamorized so much, and why is it so much a part of our culture when it is a very, very negative thing?
Mhm.
Um, let's start there.
Yeah, that's a good question to ask. Keep us numbed down. Would be the first thing that comes to my mind. Having sight, what I see when I go into establishments, even though if I choose to go in, right, with friends or to have a drink or to listen to music or something like that, there is a lower vibration that starts to set in as we drink. There's a lower vibration that starts to set in the areas. There's sort of like a darkness, I want to say, or griminess, to the atmosphere that can set in. I have seen spirits, I have worked on people who have struggled with alcoholism, and I have seen attachments in clients and removed those attachments in clients. So they do exist, so I don't think they're, that you brought up in the book that the reason they are called spirits, they are spirited and they can attract spirits. So for those who, aren't familiar with the unseen realm, those things actually do exist. I've seen them and they can play a role. And when we get these attachments, they can influence us to do things that we normally wouldn't do. It's just the way that works.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I noticed that every almost every single thing that happened to me in my life that I was ashamed of or felt bad about, there was alcohol involved. That was one of the reasons that I stopped. I was able to look back and I was like, wow, instead of just feeling bad about myself or thinking I was kind of a degenerate person or there was something wrong with me, I was like, wait a minute, alcohol was involved in all of these events in some way,
Mhm.
either me or the other people drinking. So uh and there was a fear around it, like, who am I going to be if I let go of this crutch, if I let go of this super quick way for me to blot out pain? How am I going to cope? And I'm someone who has lots of tools and lots of ways that I know how to cope. Imagine people who get addicted when they're very young and they don't know who they are and don't have a lot of skills or tools yet, and they become addictive, how challenging it is for them to have the faith that they're find their way. um, and for me, I mean, my life has just improved in so many ways, myriads of ways, countless ways. I'm so much happier. I know myself more now, without the alcohol, which always led to drugs for me. It was always a 1-2 punch. So anyone, struggling or thinking that, wow, maybe I should try 30 days without it. What would it be like?
Mhm.
Um, I really, really encourage you to go for it because you're not going to miss anything. And one of the wonderful things that I did was I wrote down all the things that I thought I would miss, or what do I love about alcohol? I kind of went deeper into my love affair with it. What do I love about alcohol? Oh, well, I love that I make dinner and I drink wine and I'm already relaxed at that moment because I've got my wine while I'm cooking. I always like to start the party early, start feeling better sooner. I'm going to miss that. Um, I'm going to miss the social scene. I'm going to miss the stress relief. Who am I going to be? And that helped too when I wrote down things. Because once you write it down and you understand it, it's easier to release. So maybe as a writer, I like to do that too. But for anyone, you can write down, what do you love about it? Just start examining the reasons instead of it being like this twisted thing. Well, I just do it. It's a habit. I just do it. Are my friends going to like me? Am I going to lose my friends? Um, did I lose friends? I There were friends that definitely I had to step back from, and they stepped back from me first. It was kind of easy. And that just left my life open for so many more friends to come to me, and people who don't drink, and um, my whole world opened up in so many ways. I highly encourage it.
There can be, excuse me, there can be that alignment. When you're in alignment with one thing, that's what you attract. That's what your attention goes to. That's what you magnetize toward yourself. Then when you switch out of it, then you start magnetizing another energy to yourself, whatever this new thing is that you're in alignment with. If you're choosing more yoga or choosing more breath or choosing more of this and that, then what you're aligning to, you bring more into your life.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Liz.
I want to read this one.
Yeah. And there's,
I want to read this one little blip here from your book. It's about an explicit insight. You say, this consciousness I had to override society's programming, to override my subconscious self-hatred and neglect, led me out of addiction. It was just a glimmer, a crack of light through a curtain, a wisp of clarity that allowed me to see there was something else involved in my decision making.
mm, wow.
Yeah, and for you to be able to make that conscious choice to move forward, to take the steps to say, like, what is it that I like about it? And to be honest with yourself and then to find yourself shifting. I think you really went into that 4D, that you talk about in your book, and where it's going into the emotional aspect of life, it's going into the feeling aspect of life, before you're able to cross over into the fifth dimension, which is the love, the light. You already have it. You're in alignment with what you desire. Let's talk a little bit about that and how you like made that transition post, making that list and, finally making that decision. What did that look like for you?
Well, it is a practice of mine to step into the beingness of whatever it is I desire. I think it's super, super powerful. Neville Goddard talks about it. I uh, dive into his work really deeply, and I highly recommend him. He was a very devout Christian, and he was very familiar with the Bible. And something he said really struck me, which was read the Bible, and everywhere that it says God, substitute imagination. I get the chills just even saying it, um, because that's the power of imagination, and that is as cosmic conscious that's what we are. We are cosmic conscious creators, and we're here to create our own reality, and we're doing it every moment with our thoughts and our words and our actions. So stepping in to the beingness of what you want. So whenever I'm going through the day and I feel a little unsteady, or I might feel a little anxiety or a little pushback from the universe to total bliss or happiness, um, say something comes up about money, say something comes up with someone that I love, an argument or something, whatever it is, I just say, Rae, step into the beingness that this issue is resolved, step into the beingness that the money's in your bank account, act as if. And I instantly I have no stress anymore. Instantly, I'm just play acting. I think that's why I was attracted to acting, because we're all actors. We all have that ability um, to imagine and to just make our life one step at a time by just knowing that it's already happened. And that way, all of the universe comes and supports, because when you know something, that's the act of creation. You have created it. Now you just have to relax and let the universe bring it to you. But that faith and that belief is all that you need.
So true. We are creators. I just got back from Egypt, and when I was in one of the temples, I got channeled a message from Sekhmet that we are creator beings. We are creating our life on this planet. And I have heard this before. I wrote about it in my book, And it's just, we have to realize that it's not just the womb that creates life, but it's our, creator energy inside us, whether we're male or female. And I've said this before, to be able to create the life that we desire. And it's choice. What choice are we going to make in the moment? Are we going to choose a higher choice or a lower choice for ourselves? Are we going to stand in our personal power and choose what's right for us, or go along with the person, place, or thing that wants us to go along with something and choose that instead and be disempowered, by our choices. And that circles around a lot to fear. You talk about fear in your book, and how that plays a role. And I think that fear is one of the main things that keeps us from creating a life that we desire for ourselves, because not only are we holding ourselves back, but we may be thinking, oh, I have fear if I'm fully myself, then I'm not going to be accepted. And if you look back historically, like if we're not accepted in the tribe and we're cast out, then there's death, right? So this plays a role in our subconscious, in our DNA, that's been passed on from our ancestors, that if we don't choose to go with the flow, then we're going to be kicked out of society and something's going to happen to us. But I think now in society, we can reprogram that to know that we can stand fully in who we are. We can choose our autonomy. We can step through the fear and choose expansion to be able to create the life that we choose, to be able to live the life that we choose that is in the highest and best, for us as individuals.
Yes, yes, Liz. And one step further, when you said, well, when we were afraid to really be who we are because we would be ostracized and kicked out of the tribe, and that meant death. What is the fear of death about?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're all going to die. That's it's going to happen. That's part of life. And that's another entrainment that we've received, that death is bad and negative, and yet it's going to happen to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another reason that it's even more traumatic, when people die now in our reality, in our families, we don't know how to deal with it. It's something really negative, yet it's part of life.
Mm-hmm.
So becoming the acceptor of death, the lover of death, the a person who has plans for their death and plans for other people's deaths, and more of a celebration of life when someone passes. This can also help with that fear of death.
Mm-hmm. It's so true. That is also a theme in Egypt, is the death process. That there is a death theme that goes along with it. They dove deeply into the death process and what that meant for them and what the afterlife was. And it's very much, and I see this, in my mediumistic abilities and my psychic abilities, that it really is a transition into a new way of being. And we can continue that relationship on the other side, because we still, the veils, they're thinning. The higher vibe we get, the veils thin a little bit more. I lost my mom a couple years ago, and I wrote about in my book how, even though I had done interviews with death doulas and these other things, my nervous system, totally overrode, you know, having access to that information, and went into the coping around death. And really in society, we've been, you know, um, sort we've not we've been, but we've sort of set death aside because we don't want to deal with it. We don't want to look at it. We don't want to face the reality that one day we're going to die. And our society, we've passed along like caretaking our loved ones, to other people so we don't have to deal with it. Where years ago, someone died, we had them in the house, we had a viewing, we sat with them for a couple of days, we bathed them, we dressed them, then we had the service and the burial or the cremation or I want a Viking funeral, actually. If you just set my flame, set my ashes on fire and cast me out in the Puget Sound or wherever I am, that's great. Just keep it on the down low. But after, 2 years after my mom passed, I had this experience where I woke up one night and I knew I was going to die. And I had to walk myself through the fear of death, and then walking myself through that actual fear of dying and knowing that death is imminent, right? I started going, okay, what is death? What does that mean? What does my soul, my Atman, like, what is that transformation that I'm going to go through into spirit? And knowing that this is a gift, this life, and that I made a choice to have this life and to see all of the beautiful things. I was in tears over the joy and how beautiful life was and what a gift life was. And it's been transformative for me to like embrace death and to know that it's not the end. And it's really given me this new outlook about life that, you know, I incarnated into this lifetime. This is the only lifetime I'm going to be in this Liz form, right? My soul goes on, but I'm probably not going to reincarnate, with this face or this body or even this color, or maybe I'm a man next life. So to really like dive in and live every day to the fullest, and
Mm,
not have that fear of death, just living life to the fullest, feeling the joy, feeling the happiness, and just knowing that when the day comes, it's a transformation. It's an initiation into a new way of being and back into spirit or whatever, I choose to be next, or that spirit has in store for me.
that's one of the gifts that your mother gave to you in
Yes.
her passing,
Yeah.
was this lesson.
Yeah. And with death of our loved ones, we do walk ourselves through this lesson. It happens to all of us. It's new perspective that settles in around life and death and how we want to live and what's important to us.
How we want to live. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And taking that traumatic event, which nobody escapes trauma, right? Nobody escapes disturbing, emotionally disturbing events in this life. And how do we take those events and use them for transformation? Because something heavy, something deep emotionally is happening, and we're emotion based beings. So, how do we, okay, wow, this energy's here. How am I going to use it for my growth and my new shakedown, my new, what's going to open up because of this? What doors are going to open up, and what more power am I going to gain from this experience?
Right, because as we spoke about before the interview, like using these traumatic events to transform your life in a faster way, they can be breakthroughs for us instead of breakdowns.
Yes, yes, and there seems to be this uh, victim culture right now, and not taking away anything from victims, except are victims get sympathy, victims get attention, but victims do not have power. So I'm suspicious of this whole victim mentality that's, you're wrong, I'm right, I'm the victim, I deserve this because of it. And I don't think that is leading anyone to a healthy place, because you're stepping into I am a victim instead of I had this event happen to me. I had this happen to me. And of course, I'm going to heal. Of course, I'm going to take the time and be kind and loving and explore more self love for myself. Um, and then I'm going to use the energy to transform, because that's the only viable option to me. I'm not going to take the, well, I'm going to, break down, as you said.
Gosh, Ray, that's really important to point out that victim mentality, because so often people can go there and then they find themselves stuck in victimhood. And then it becomes a crutch, it becomes a tool. It can be very manipulative. But if we choose to come out of victim and, be the survivor, be the thriver, and
Mm,
choose ourselves, it's empowering instead. Everyone knows who's watched my podcast or listened to any of my talks knows that I was in a 20-year marriage that ended in betrayal. And I had to make the conscious choice. Am I just going to wallow, for another minute, in this experience? Or am I going to choose myself? Am I going to, pull my big girl panties up and, choose to be empowered over this, choose, to flip on, that thriver within myself and use that as momentum to move myself forward in my life.
of course, you knew that wasn't the end of the story, Liz. That
Yeah.
wasn't the end of the story for you.
Yes, we
That
have
was the beginning
all of
of
these
the
stories.
story.
It's not the end. Like if something happens, it is not the end of our story. We have many more pages to write.
Yes. And what are the tools that we use to move through? And we don't recommend alcohol.
No, don't
Not
drink the wine post separation. Grab the yoga class, grab the meditation, breathe. Let's talk about all of the things you used, during your healing journey. Let's talk about, your thoughts and food and yoga and breath and time. Let's talk about all of these things that you talk about in your book that you use to become a thriver in your life and to move forward.
Well, I pretty much subbed alcohol for essential oils. I went one on one. I grabbed a friend of mine was like, "You got to get these oils. You got to get these oils." And I said, "But I need all the help I can get right now." And I latched on to this plant medicine, and I use them every single day in every situation to clean my house, to change my mood, to soothe my muscles. I'm really grateful for them. I also use words. Words are wands, is one of the chapters in my book. And what you speak, I hear people all the time, and it's challenging for me because not everyone is where we are, and able to understand. A friend called me today, and she said, "I'm so scared of picking the wrong color for my bathroom. I'm scared of this and I'm scared of that." And I was like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. You just bought a new house. You're redecorating it. You're excited to find the right color for your bathroom." I substitute "I'm excited" a lot of my day. That's a really, really easy one to substitute for "I'm afraid, I'm scared, I'm tired, I'm sad." Okay, you're all those things, but do you really want to like step in with all of yourself into it? Because your words are creating your reality. So it's just a really simple, powerful way to change things. So you can substitute "I'm excited to find a solution for this problem." Whatever it is, substitute "I'm excited" when you find yourself saying "I am" something negative. Um, that's a good way. Step right into the beingness. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. There is always something to be grateful for. As
Mhm.
long as you're breathing, start with your breath, right? I am grateful for my breath.
Yes. Powerful. And yes, I have been using essential oils. I found essential oils when I was in my early 20s when I was living in Virginia with friends, 21, 22 years old. I don't attach to a brand, although I have some of those brands in my in my collection. But the single ones, I have a sleep that I make myself that I've been making for years that I roll on or put it on back in the day. We didn't have the roll-ons, right? So, put it, slather it all over me. Definitely like peppermint. I remember my sister's boyfriend used to come down and visit, and he would go, Liz, put some of that oil on me so I can, stay awake on the drive home back to Baltimore and stuff like that. They really do make a difference in our life and can be uplifting if we're using the oranges or, some of those scents as well. And I do want to agree also with the gratitude, because gratitude was one of the things that I used, post separation, going through my divorce, when like my kids would be over visiting their dads and I would just be like, the house is empty and it was all new. And who am I if I'm not mom, 100% of the time, like stay at home mom, and just crying and like starting like, okay, here I am, I'm feeling this, like, what am I grateful for? And I remember sitting there in tears, just going, I am grateful for my house. I am grateful for the food, that I have in my refrigerator. I'm grateful for my pets. Gratitude is huge. I still to this day practice gratitude. And 100% your thoughts, are things, and everything that you think, applies to your life and what you're going to experience. So thank you for bringing that up too. I really think that our words are wands, our words are spells. What are we saying to ourselves and what are we bringing in, to our lives? So I think that that's really important too. I remember having affirmations all over the place. I still like sometimes if I'm going through something or need to uplift myself, or I need to challenge myself to, get some writing done on time or something like that, I put little post-its,
Oh,
everywhere to remind myself to affirm, these things. Thank you for bringing those up. You also use yoga and breath, as part of your process.
oh, oh, absolutely. I mean, breathing is that's the first thing we do. That's the first thing we do when we come into this world, and it's the sign that we've left is we stop. So how do you make the most of it? Um, Lately, I just love to wake up, run outside, and take 25 very pranic breaths, or just inhale and exhale. Just concentrate on the inhalation. Whenever you're concentrating on the inhalation, that's deep breathing, because you're gonna exhale. It's easy. We wanna let that breath go because we want to get more in. So you don't have to focus on the exhalation, but just inhale, inhale, inhale. And when you get that fresh air, with full of trees and wind, first thing in the morning, wonderful, wonderful practice. Um, I love that one. And then I turn around and I look at a reflection in the glass, and I just see myself and I say, I love you, 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 I love you. Do we say that to ourselves? Do we deserve to hear that 10 times in the morning to ourselves? Yes, we do.
Yes. Yeah. Bringing
Such a
love, as you have on your little Healy, today. You're sitting in the frequency of love during this call. So that's really sweet, which is also something that you use. Frequency is really important. What sort of frequency do we want to bring into our lives? Do we want that frequency of love? Do we want to, put out to the universe that, I am lovable, I am loving, and, I am surrounded with love, like bringing that into our lives and sort of up leveling ourselves into that state, the loving vibration.
Yeah. And giving. I my mantra that I like to say every day, I am giving with ease and abundance. I am the unlimited source of all. I am an easy, open conduit for you, divine beloved, and I am trustful that all my needs are met in glorious ways. I am safe to give freely as my heart guides. I am also wildly open to receiving. I carry your light with a rebellious grace and a provocative elegance, as I am a stunning example of your love. I am love, forgiveness, and acceptance. I am the one who lets everything go, and I am the one who lets everything come.
Mm.
And there's something about when you say I am giving. I volunteer at the holistic health community in Stone Ridge in New York as a practitioner, and there's something about the art of giving. When you step into the place of the giver, the universe is always looking for vessels, tunnels, distributors, places where it can throw the riches down. And it says, oh, wow, this person's giving. So we better back them up with more stuff. And then you're receiving so much. You're putting yourself in that place of the person who has something to give. Even if you feel, sometimes I wake up in the morning and it's that day and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm tired already. I'm not tired. I am excited to feel energized. See how I just corrected myself?
Yes. Cancel, cancel,
You can
delete.
always
Redo, redo.
cancel, delete, delete. You can always catch yourself. You can always catch yourself. So that place of giving, I feel so good after that day. I'm never tired when I'm going and giving free sessions to people, because that's when you put yourself in that place, that position in society. I am the giver. Well, you must have, if you're giving, it's a given. So I highly recommend that too. Go volunteer, go help somebody, go, even if it's picking up trash on the highway, whatever it is, you're going to feel so good giving your time, giving your talents.
Yes, in the past when I have volunteered, it really is a beautiful experience. It's life-changing. I highly recommend, if you're going through something difficult or you find you're struggling with something, go volunteer. That was life-changing for me to be in
Hmm.
that state and choose to go help, someone instead. There was a time around Thanksgiving that I talk about where I was struggling and I didn't even know if I was going to celebrate Thanksgiving. And it was the day before, and I went and helped prepare food for the community meal the next day. And it totally changed my energy. Totally changed my energy. And I got home and I decided I was going to go pack a bag and go up to my mother's and celebrate Thanksgiving with her that day. So it really is a transformative experience. I highly recommend it, whether you're experiencing something or not. It's beautiful to give back. And if you listen to NDE experiences or communicate with the other side, it really is all about helping other. It's about coming, out of the I and realizing that in unity, that's all of us here on the planet. And how can we help each other? How can we be there for each other? What can we do for everyone? How can we lift, our brothers and sisters up and come together? It's really important. I think that's really beautiful that you brought that up, Rae, because I really do think that giving back and doing for others and, you know, being of service is important in the world.
Oh, I'm so glad you found that helpful for you when you were going through a really rough time too.
Yeah.
You knew it's a celebration. It really is. When you are giving, it just becomes a celebration.
Mhm. Yeah. And after every healing, as you said, I give thanks. Thank you for the ability to do this work. Thank you for the ability to hold space for these human beings, for these people who come to me. It really is, or I go to. It really is a gift to be able to serve. Yeah. What are some,
That's what you're doing with this podcast, isn't it,
yes,
Liz?
yes. Yeah.
Thank
My
you.
intentions behind my podcast too is to give back and to help people, spread, their messages and, you know, help you share your voice with the world.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Beautiful. I'm so
I
glad you're doing
always ask my guests, Rae, what is a jewel of wisdom that you would like to share with our audience today as we come to a close?
Hmm. take it easy. Take it easy on yourselves. Do something today that is around self love. Do at least one thing today that expresses love for yourself.
Hmm. I love that. Thank you so much, Rae. How can people find you and work with you, and what do you offer?
Oh, well, I work with people with the Healy device. I intuit. People come and they want to work on some issue and bust through subconscious triggers, which are a quick way to make a lot of progress in your life. And you can get in touch with me at raeleonard.me. That's my website. RaeLeonard.me. And you can also say hi on Instagram. That is I am Rae Leonard, meaning Raeleonard. I love to chat. So reach out and say hi. Let me know how you're doing.
And don't forget to get her book and read it. For those on YouTube, you can see it's High Sobriety, a trip out of the bottle and into your intuition. And it's got many resources and techniques to help you also move forward. Rae, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a pleasure to host you. Thank you so much for your wisdom and for sharing this book with us.
Thank you, Liz. It was super fun to be with you.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for joining me again. I'm Liz Peterson. This is Raise the Vibe with Liz. And remember to get out there and raise the vibe, everybody. Have a great day. Bye now.